Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Timist Podcast Series. My name is James, and I am the Timist and the host of the thing you're currently listening to. In this episode, I have the honor of speaking with a personal watch hero of mine, Armand Billard, the designer, founder, and owner of Sartory Billard, the preeminent high-end bespoke watch brand that creates true piece-unique timepieces at prices previously unheard of. Armand walks us through how he actually started his company and shares with us some of the amazing stories that he's collected over the years while working with passionate watch collectors spanning the globe. He also gives us a peek behind the curtain on his two latest new releases, the SB04E Tantalum and Ruby Platinum respectively. But of course, we also talk about future projects and go over what he will be presenting during this year's Watches and Wonders. All this and so much more. So sit back, relax, grab a drink and a snack as we get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. It is my absolute honor and pleasure to introduce our guest today. He's a designer at his core, having owned and run his own design agency. He took his passion, creativity, and love for the watchmaking world, and in 2015 started his own watch brand, Sartory Billard, with the explicit goal of taking your crazy, cool, and creative ideas and turning them into one-of-a-kind, piece-unique watches. I am, of course, talking about Armand Billard. Armand, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. How are you this evening?
Thank you very much, James, for having me during this interview. I'm very happy to meet you. Thank you very much for taking your time during the weekend to organize this. So we had already, previous to this lovely conversation about your universe of video game. that was a very cool off-record talk.
I'm glad that you find that interesting, and I'm flattered. So thank you for that. I see what you do as art, so I appreciate you, and I'm so glad that you're here. I have to say, and I think I mentioned this slightly earlier to you before, but I have been obsessed with Sartory Billard ever since I discovered your company by watching an episode of Revolution Watch, where you and Waco sat down and walked us through some of your frankly incredible designs. Again, I'm a big fan, so I have to confess the SB04 has completely stolen my heart. I visit your site and look at the different dial options and strap colors and the various builds that you've already done at least once a week. So I just wanted to...
This is you in the stats.
Yeah, that's me. That's me in the stats. When you look at the site telemetry and the analytics, that's me just constantly just clicking on everything and dreaming about the perfect combo. So thank you for being here. I just wanted to start off by paying tribute to you and the Sartory Billard team and express my admiration for the work that you guys do and have been doing, in fact, for the past 10 years. It is all amazing stuff. Like, you guys are doing incredible work and you're making people's dreams come true. And I think it's a beautiful thing.
I thank you very much. Yes, it's 10 years, like 2025, 2015. Honestly, it doesn't look like 10 years because I have very short memory on the past. So this is one of my main difficulties, I would say. I'm always looking forward. But when I'm looking back and say, oh, I did this and this and this, yes, I've been making a little bit of watches for the last 10 years. So as you mentioned, I'm a designer. I had zero formal training into watchmaking, which makes it maybe a little bit more interesting on my point of view, because I can create stuff without knowing too much what the difficulties will be. I have to say, through the years, I had many difficult periods of, I made this choice that was not the best one, so I have to correct and improve and stuff. So the SB04 is or was, I would say, explain why the most significant watch in the collection. I say was because now it's just replaced. We are February, but January 2025. The SB04 has been replaced with the SB04E. E stands for evolution. It's still the same watch, just few tricks that I wanted to correct from the previous one. A little bit of size here, a lot of water resistance there, a little bit of engineering, much more easier also for me to build the watch. So it's a new watch, but with a strong heritage to carry on.
I'm excited. I'm gonna ask you some more questions about the SB04-E, and I thank you for letting me know what the E stands for. I love the fact that it stands for evolution, and I also love the fact that you said that you just kind of blindly go into it. I am a big fan, and I truly, wholeheartedly believe in blind optimism
Oh, that's
because it doesn't it oftentimes overanalyzing something can slow us down and sometimes even stop us from going forward. But if you have blind optimism, you just kind of go for it. And most of the time, most of the trick in life that I've discovered, for me personally at least, is just put one foot in front of the other and just try it. Just go. Because
yeah.
guaranteed, if you don't, it won't happen. But if you try,
Yeah, it's sort of now this podcast will turn up these motivational, talks like TEDx, like you have to do this and this. Yeah, but actually, yes, if you don't do so, I've done a lot of crap, but at least I tried. I used to say I have a graveyard of watches and stones and broken parts and everything. But at least if I'm doing this, then one day I do a dial with silicon wafer. Like this is just like a bit of crap that is on my desk, just there, like because it's no, it's a part that is there. I don't know for how many years. I don't know, 2 3. I've been cleaning my desk like recently, so I dig up like a lot of stuff. So silicon wafer, like you have one person saying, "Oh, I'm in the tech industry. Can I?" Yeah, of course I can do. I have no idea about this. Like I have no idea how to cut this. But like one time after the other, it works, and I'm going to make I made and a very very cool watch with this silicon wafer. Like
oh, I know.
basically this computer chips for
I,
the one who's listening. I remember like quite early, like 6 7 years. Can you make a watch of tantalum? Yeah, of course I can. This is hell on earth. But like, yeah, I made watches with tantalum. Now I'm making dials out of tantalum. So I have like a scrap part of tantalum. Why do I have like? Oh, this one I like very much. This is almost €1,000 broken turquoise dial, like exceptional turquoise.
wow.
But you making the dial, and because you have two left hands, and nobody ever learn you how to handle like fragile stone, you breaking it. So I'm going to order a second one, and I will handle this differently. So I have like a broken turquoise on my desk just to remind this. I have some very bad parts of engraving on laser. This is done by Ron, an American artist. I have bit of case that is titanium, blued titanium, actually like, and people saying, "Oh, can you make like blue titanium case?" Yeah, of course I can. I had no idea I can make this. So this is, it's very funny because I found this also like the first 3D prints of the SB05. So this is many years ago.
Very cool.
I lost it for a while, but I'm happy I found it there. But I keep them, and yeah, if you don't try anything, like you stay very okay. You stay safe, which is
Yeah.
very good, but you
Yeah.
stay also a little bit like the 2 feet like on the exact same place. And there is it's entrepreneur. They are very in fashion. They have like the mic. They can talk very publicly. You open Instagram, you have like tons of entrepreneur giving advice, blah blah blah. But I'm a little bit old school. I'm 50 years old this year, so I like the older version of entrepreneur. And one that I really like for being very bold is Richard Branson, the guy behind Virgin and all the stuff.
Virgin brand. Yep.
Yeah. And one day he told, even before internet was there, but he was like, that was one of his quote. He said, if a customer asks you to do something, say yes, and then find a way to make it. And it's just like I'm rewired this way. So it's just me. So it has helped me to embark in some incredible projects, some very easy with great reward behind. Like you say, oh, this has never been done. And suddenly it's much more easier than you thought. And some that you thought easy and are just like catastrophically difficult.
I know because we had talked about it in the past as we were going back and forth via email, but I'll touch up on that in a little bit later. But we all know theory is one thing,
Yeah.
practice is something else. And I think to your credit, and I think talking about your inner spirit and how you're built, it's a little bit more of a, hey, I've learned the lesson with these two hands on my own skin. I now know what not to do, and in the process have learned what to do. So I love that your desk is covered in like your craft, your work, and it may look like a mad scientist laboratory.
It is.
Right. And that's what I tell my wife as well whenever like she comes in here, because what you see right now is very, very clean, very
Organized.
nice, organized. What you can see behind the camera is it's not quite that. It is and I keep saying this is a working space, and a working space sometimes means just a little bit of chaos, just a little bit of madness, because as you experiment, as you try your hand at something, when you're in the flow, and I know you understand this, a lot of artists understand this, engineers do as well. When you're in that flow, when you're in that mind state of creative creation, I'm not going to stop to pick up that thing or adjust that other thing. I am focused and the idea is flowing, and I just want to make the thing. And then when it's done, I can clean up afterwards. But in the moment, in the process, let me cook, as the kids say. Let him cook.
This is exactly like this. So I have moments where the workshop is absolutely chaotic, and I have moments when exactly as you described, like there is one step has been done, and I say, okay, the next step now is a little bit clearer in my head, and I got into a frantic mode for 2 hours and clean everything, and I can continue with a little bit of a cleaner desk.
Yeah.
So I did clean my desk last week, which allows me to find like even bizarre tools. Well, I like this one. Okay, I'm bold. So I found like I was so on the new SB04E, I'm making a dial out of tantalum. And I developed like a little bit of a tool that I put on a Dremel, but the tool is a bit bizarre and it gives like swirl in the tantalum, because now I know how to work with the tantalum. But at the beginning, I was really searching how can I like engrave a tantalum cut in the most efficient way. So I had like advertisement on Amazon. So I'm buying like special blades for bald people, a little bit curved. And of course, like Amazon knows therefore that I'm bald, because if you will only buy these Wilkinson blades if you shave your head. So they propose me this tool, which is something that you are suffering of being bald. You're supposed to push always, and it's full of little pins, and it supposedly help you grow your hair, which I don't care. But I've seen this, and I say, oh, can I engrave dials with that? So I bought one and destroyed it, because of course, like the tantalum is much more harder than the So I asked a CNC guy to make like the brutal version of it with an aluminum handle and like spikes that could like destroy everything. It's made out of a very special steel. So and I lost it in my pile of trash, and I found it again. So I have like the initial stuff, and
I love that. I'm just imagining you. Yeah, I'm imagining you showing up and you'd be like, "Hi, you see this?
Hello, Baptiste.
Hello,
Can
Baptiste.
You make this?"
But like industrial level. Like I want an industrial version of this.
Okay.
I love that so much.
At the end, it doesn't work.
So have them use tantalum then. Like
I paid a bunch of money, but the good stuff, I can scrap my skull like for a 15th generation of bald men. Like it's indestructible. So I think I will hang it on the wall and say like, failure in development. This
I think
actually, I'm
you've
going
made
to do this.
I think you've created something that is indestructible for a very niche part of the industry.
It's useless. Cost me a fortune.
I'm
So
sorry to hear that.
this is my desk. But after this, when I saw that it didn't work, so I had to think again, like, oh, because I was really, really stubborn. So the first dial that I made, like, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, no, a little bit less, like 5 years ago, with the SB05 was polished titanium.
Mm-hmm.
And for the SB04E, I wanted something with a good, strong concept in the material. I couldn't do again like polished titanium. That would be, putting back some pizza on the microwave. Like, it's okay,
Mm-hmm.
we've seen that already. So I needed a stronger concept. So I started with, okay, let's try a tantalum dial. There is like, I can find maybe 2 or 3 watches on the market with tantalum dies, but nothing really exciting. And I said, okay, I was polishing the previous one. How can I texture a tantalum dial? And this is really on the opposite that what you want to do on a tantalum, because tantalum is really hard, but at the same time, it's a little bit like dough.
Mm.
So you wouldn't remove metal. If you're polishing steel, you're polishing steel by removing steel.
Mm.
So you start to remove with a big grain, then a smaller one, then a smaller one, and the more, even if you use, like here, you can see a machine here, barely, but there is a
Mm-hmm.
sink, and on the side there is a machine that is a polishing machine, so with
Mm-hmm.
rotating discs, and so even with diamond-based paste, you would remove steel until the moment, or titanium, until the moment that is perfectly polished and Mara finish. With tantalum, it doesn't really work that way. You can remove material, but at one stage, you will just push the tantalum away,
Mm.
like a little bit you would do with a pizza dough.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like you try to make a pizza dough mirror finish, or it's not how it's really supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to invent like a tool, and I'm quite happy with this. And it gives like swirls into the tantalum.
I am a material science guy, and I it fascinates me truly. It's nerdy, and I really dig it. Would temperature when you're working with tantalum affect the way it behaves? Because I'm thinking you're describing it as dough. Cold dough is easier to work with. Once it gets room temperature, it kind of gets sticky and it sticks to your hands. And I'm just curious. The
That's a
answer
very
may
good
be,
question.
yeah.
That's a very good question, and actually, I need to test this. That would be very easy to freeze one and see how it works. I'll take this, and I'm going to actually write it down.
Have I just contributed?
Yeah, yeah,
That would
yeah,
be
yeah.
a dream come true. I'm thinking like dry ice or really, I don't know, some way to lower the temperature in order to kind of realign the molecules perhaps and make them less sticky.
That is really interesting. I have to try honestly. On the opposite way, for example, when I'm working with titanium, there is one point if you exceed like, I think, 60 degrees. It's really low in temperature. Like polishing is, you won't be able to polish it anymore.
Hmm.
The color will even start to change, and you will have like a cloudy effect. So when you're polishing steel, yeah, you can really go high in temperature, like not burning hot, not red, but you can hot enough that you wouldn't hold it with the hand, or
Hmm.
you would
Hmm.
have like a burning sensation. With titanium, that was even lower than this. That was just like a warm sensation.
Hmm.
That wouldn't be good. So you really have to keep the temperature of super room temperature to polish titanium. So
Hmm.
I will try with the tantalum. That can be very interesting. Never thought about this actually.
I'm curious. We'll have to follow up on that
Yeah,
because
yeah, I
I'm
can
fascinated.
really, really try with this.
Now, so Armand, I mentioned this a little bit in the intro, but you've been doing this for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
Could you please walk us through how a creative designer such as yourself kind of one day wakes up, maybe it's a Tuesday, maybe it's a Saturday, I don't know. But you wake up one day and you decide that you want to start your own watch brand. How does that happen? Like, how do you, and why? Just Walk us through that a little bit.
The why is really easy. Before doing this, I own a design consultancy agency in product design. So I've been doing a lot of internet boxes for French market or European market. I've been designing a lot of the first boxes, giving internet in the houses, computers, phones, a lot of mobile phones when they were actually, all, do you remember the Nokia things, like I can't remember
3610.
the reference, like, yeah, probably. So we had like the French market was Alcatel.
Oh yeah, I know Alcatel too.
So I designed like many of the Alcatel phones and the Alcatel Lucent phone that you would find in many companies around the world. I designed them. So that was my work for until I was 40. So I had this design consultancy agency in Paris. But it was also always a little bit frustrating because the best I could give was some 3D renderings, technical drawings, that engineers will catch up, and PowerPoint file. Basically, nothing really tangible. Like I started my days like I'm so old. Like the first internship I did at the design agency, we would design with ink papers on this translucent paper
Mm-hmm.
that you use to how do you call
Tracing
this?
paper.
Tracing paper.
Yeah.
And then we will roll the paper and send by fax, or you would have like a guy coming up and taking the roll of paper and bring it physically to the customer. And then it went digital and computers and stuff like this. Nothing really new in our world, but like I never produced anything tangible, only documents, I would say. And at the same time that I had this design agency, I had a small department that was UX design, UX and UI design. At the time, that was very new. And I was lucky enough that a bigger firm that was in pure consultancy, saw the capability of my design agency. And because they wanted this knowledge, they bought the agency.
Nice.
So, and that was good for me because I didn't do what I wanted or what I loved to do anymore. My love is for creation, and we were 12 or between 12 and 15 employees at the time, and all I was doing was HR and paperwork and stuff like this. So I was really, really happy to sell the company, and that was like instantly my wish was to create something where I would create products. And at the time I started to develop an interest for watches. I found that the design for a watch was just marvelous, and I didn't even have like a second thought. Like I made the first, what was about to become the Sartory Billard brand. I made the first watch for my 40th birthday, and that was like exactly at the same time, the same year, during the summer that I sold the company, and I transitioned like instantly. So I say, okay, now I'm making watches, so fine, and this is how it started.
So you were bitten by the watch bug. It was your 40th. Things just
Yeah,
lined up perfectly, and you were
yeah.
like, "This is me now. This is what I'm going to do."
It's
That's amazing.
it's it's funny because so when I sold the company, I had 2 years of money that was basically equivalent to my salary. That was
Mhm.
what I get out of this. And I said, it's okay. I can do something for 2 years, without bringing money in.
Mhm.
I have this money, so my spouse was okay with that. And the fact is that I took these 2 years to create the first models, and already find some things that were good and kill some bad ideas. And what was really cool is that just after 2 years, the first month after this, I could make a salary for myself. So which is really, really cool. So we went like, as a family, that it was quite smooth. Okay, there've been hiccups on the way because some moments are more difficult, but so far so good, I would say.
So I'm hearing it was destiny, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, I think so. Honestly, I think so.
I
I
love
think
that.
so.
I love that so much.
It doesn't mean that these 10 years were easy.
Sure.
Like the way that I took the my watch making path, making watches as bespoke, is extremely difficult because you have to make every single watch is different. Every single watch is a risk taking on these things. So I've seen colleagues, um, I've seen colleagues struggling more than I do, or and I've seen colleagues succeeding much more than what I did in these 10 years, because they build the brand with some regular models, and like now they have like a small company, a small fabric, a small team, and they're repeating this. They're putting out 1, 2, 3 models every year, and it's running. But I think it's not the same pleasure of what I'm doing. So I think everybody has to find its path. I surely didn't get the on the easiest way, but I have so many incredible memories along the way, meeting some crazy requests and customers, and even one this weekend, like a customer that just wrote me to have like a really crazy watch. The story behind this customer, what he wishes, even his family business is just like, I mean, I'm so lucky to meet these kind of guys.
That's
That's cool.
incredible. I'm going to ask you some more about that in a little bit, but I find it funny how our experiences shape our watch journeys. Some of us start with simple quartz or smartwatches. Others are they're drawn in by the mechanical aspect, of watches. Others by design or even the image that a watch can project as you wear it as an owner.
Absolutely.
While our paths sort of differ, our journeys are individual. Sometimes I feel like after we get our quote unquote grails, we tend to reach this sort of fork in the road. We tend to lean, okay, we got all the things we wanted. Now what's next? What's the next step? Do I go vintage, or do I go custom made to order watch? And you and I, we both know that this hobby is a marathon, right?
Yes.
There's always the next one. I think in the beginning we're like, I just want this watch, this one watch. It's going to be the greatest watch,
You
and we're
buy
done.
this fancy little box of 6 spots and say,
Yeah,
six is way enough.
it's enough. But you and I know, and whoever's watching and listening also, I'm sure knows and can relate to this. But where does this is my curiosity. Where does Sartory Billard fit into the collector spectrum? Like,
Oh, easy.
have you built watches for newcomers, or are most of your clients seasoned collectors? Like people that have gone through and done all the things, and now they're like, oh, but I want that one watch that is my watch. How does Sartori BR fall?
So there is like clearly one typical customer of mine is whatever the age is, um, been already into the watch collection and the watch passion for enough time to being able to buy most of the piece or everything they wanted in their price range.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that because like a Sartori Billard would start like 5,000 US, and it goes to 100
100
plus.
plus, yeah.
But like you can have like SB04 and SB04E for $5,000, and SB05 now for 15, something like this. So I would say between a Grand Seiko or a very nice tag, or something like this, 215, I don't know, Daytona Plus or whatever, this kind of range.
Mm-hmm.
The customer will have both most of the pieces they want in their range, like either 5,000 or a little bit above. And at one time they find Sartori Billard and they say, oh yes, I want something that is represent me a little bit more, that it's filling a hole in my collection, either for material, for guilloche, for color, for die specification that I won't find. It can be, for example, a regional or local culture. Indian people that will desire a watch with Gujarati or Sanskrit numeral that on the daily offering is super difficult to find. Uh, you can have a passion for titanium and want like a titanium case, titanium dial, whatever watch. You can have a love for guilloche. You want like a mix of, I don't know, turquoise and lapis because this is the stones from your parents or whatever, and you can't find this embedded in one single watch. So this is the vast majority of my customers. They already own like multiple watches, multiple, like let's say between 10 to hundreds, but like you own multiple watches. And I do have a very small amount of customers that Sartory Billard will be almost the first, I mean, not the first, like, but the one of the first watches, but for a very special occasion. My first kid or second or whatever kid is born, I want like to mark the day with a watch that is super specific with the name engraved and the date. This is my wedding. I want my wife and I, or two partners or whatever, we want the watches that will evoke our wedding together. Not super common, but quite common that I'm making 5 to 10 pieces, maybe a little bit more, sets a year like this. And those would be more early comers and in the watch industry, because they would search, probably they tend to have like an attraction for watches, and they would Google like, oh, can I have like watch for wedding, and then digging in the rabbit hole. At one point they would say like, can I have like oh darling, you will have like a bespoke dress, I'm going to have the bespoke suit and shoes and whatever, like what about the bespoke watch, and you'll find us.
That fascinates me because to a certain extent, that means that the spectrum is wide. You'll have newcomers into the watch world that maybe want something unique or bespoke, custom made for a specific life event. And then you'll have people that will have 10 plus watches into the hundreds, maybe, that go, I have sampled, I have purchased, I have gotten all the things. Maybe it's time to have truly a piece unique. And then they come to you.
And it's great because like I do find like a super crazy variety of customers. Like these gentlemen that talk with me, they are the 9th generation of winemakers from Central Europe. Just the story of the family, just like, what, you're making wine in the same family from, how do you say, 1780 or something?
1780, yeah.
Sounds absolutely crazy. I would have like people in the tech industry with incredible personal life stories. Brilliant student somewhere in the world that is not dedicated to have like immense future, but is very, very clever. And basically the parents or whatever the family says, like, we collect money, we have one ticket, go. Yeah. And like I have like several examples like this. You said like, so self-made man in all the various industry, some with family business, some with crazy life stories starting from zero and building empires out of crazy amount of work, and always like very, very nice story. This woman from Middle East calling me like I don't know, 6 months ago. The father disappeared like, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like this, and she has not so many pictures, she has one, and she wants this on the watch, and then we paint like the portrait in wonderful, and it's and the way that she expressed a feeling when she received the watch and opened the box, I mean, this gives you goosebump. And so yeah, doing this is just incredible, because I have like, at the same moment I'm looking at a piece on my wall, I can't show you on the camera, but the story behind this man that left China and went to United States, and like is absolutely brilliant in this industry, and is making watches for all this family that are super, super meaningful. My customers are just awesome people, and it has nothing related with the wealth, because of course on the extreme scale you have to be super wealthy to order a Sartory Billard Flying Tourbillon full gold and diamond, and I'm working on such a beast, and it costs like 110, 20, I can't remember even. The price is super, super expensive. But you don't have to be there to offer yourself a 5,000 euro watch, because that is a very nice Tudor, but you will embed into this watch so much story.
I mean, Oh, no. It's beautiful, and in fact, it gives me and it gives our viewers and our listeners a little window into your world because it sounds like as a creator, as a creative, and as a designer, and as a business owner, and as a watch enthusiast and collector, you can now create physical objects that you can point your finger at and say, I made that for
Yeah,
this person, and this is their special, unique, and meaningful story. And as a creator, I think there's nothing more rewarding than reading or seeing or hearing the reaction of
yeah,
someone that has ordered a watch from you. And now they have like a physical object that they can imbue with memories and meaning.
yeah, yeah.
Because at some
I
point they stop being watches, right? They start to be other things. They start to take on different meanings. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I just wanted to touch up a little bit because you were mentioning some of the prices. There are a handful of other watch brands that offer custom and unique watches, but none of them, from my perspective, come even close to the price point that you offer. That is another aspect of Sartori BR that I wanted to explore a bit more.
yeah,
You said, you can get an SB04 roughly around $5,000, which is a price of a nice Tudor. Again, custom piece, and things can go in excess of 100,000 depending on what you want
yeah.
to build. Flying Tourbillon, gold case, very, very, very nice, unique, and special pieces. But the proposition of hyper niche watch ownership that is custom made for you without the need to get a bank loan is very, very unique in this sector. So for many of us, myself included, owning a piece unique is sort of the ultimate dream. For us to be able to say, yes, there are many watches in this world, but only one of them looks and feels like this one because I went to Armand, because Armand worked with me and we were able to build it together. That's a lot of words to try and get you to answer the following question. How do you do it? Right? How is that even possible?
So the first is that I let the customer decide on what he wants. I don't judge the taste of the customer, and I will just help him with some aesthetic feedback that I can have based on the hundreds of watches that I've been doing. I will give you two examples. I have, first of all, like American tend to like colors. European, it really depends on the country you live in. Some countries would be more colorful. I would say in the southern part of Europe, color would be more accepted. The more you go north in Europe, the more monochromatic the general taste is. I had customers from Southeast Asia countries challenging me like a lot on the perception and my appreciation of colors, because colors are just incredible, are meaningful. So I have specific project in mind with like green, yellow, and red. No, sorry, yes, on the dial, very specific, but like every color was super meaningful. And when I built the watch, that was like, of course, it makes perfectly sense, but that was really out of my taste scope, which is really, really good. And I had like another story that a customer said to me, I'm colorblind. Can
Hmm.
you do something? And I said, like, yes, of course. So how do you perceive color? This I see, this I don't see. This all looks great. This like pops me like in more, blah, blah, blah. And so we tweaked the watch. So his perception is good, whatever any other person will consider good or bad taste. And that was really incredible, because what I found, so maybe it's with my previous history in design industry. I was doing phones and computers. That was my main work of area of work. And basically, you go monochromatic, like a little bit more grayish, a little bit more bluish, but super super calm. When you get into the watches, you have the chance to create like many varieties, and I do not hold the label for the good taste.
Hmm.
and this is super important for me, is that your taste is absolutely personal. Like the taste, everybody has his own taste, and it's very difficult and yet very mature to say, I don't like a Rolex Submariner with a black face, and I don't like the Pepsi, or I don't like the beetroot, because, and you don't have to like it because like everybody on the forums or on the website say, oh, this is great. And
Variety is the spice of life. Yeah.
yes, this is that. So I'm very like, so it's very cool when you are a when you are a watch passionate and you say, I want a pink watch.
Hmm.
Because it goes like, I've been making like several pink or coral watch from people from the Middle East. Perfect alliance on darker skin. Not black skin, darker Middle East skin, like coral watch, pinkish coral watch on a dark Middle Eastern skin. You won't beat that. So it's like really you have to think, but the offering in these coral colors today, nothing. You would find like crude orange, because this is like when people designers will work like, oh, we need something like sun color orange, and they take the most brutal orange because it has to fit everyone from east, from lighter skin. You have like a little bit lighter shade of skin that I do have, and you would find like people in Northern Europe, like even like blonde, very light skin, and people with very black skin. So they say orange will take the thing that is very, very middle. I don't have to get into any of this consideration.
Mm-hmm.
If like, and this is like the skin color is something that I'm really quickly asking to my customer.
Mm-hmm.
And this helps me a lot to say, oh, this works very well by experience, this is working less by experience.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I don't even have to not insist much, but that they would, you will know by how you dress, the clothes that you wear, like what kind of colors are very good to you. So you will already go, okay, I know that this color works for me. And if you want a bespoke piece, you will say, I prefer something like this.
I like that. I like that you obviously don't judge people's taste to their face, but you are ready to apply your expertise, your experience, and your knowledge that
Yes,
you've gained over the
I
years of
do.
like, I,
For example, you have people like, usually what if you want to combine colors, and women are very much aware of this for their dressing and clothing habits. Two colors plus one tonic. Like it's two main colors matching together plus one in a very small percentage, like probably 10%, or not even, like a touch of color that will pop up something. For example, uh, turquoise blue and brown would work tremendously well on the suits, like blue shirt, brown suit, perfectly. And you can add like a very tiny something, like a bracelet, a bangle, something that would be probably in orange or coral color, but just like in very small. That would be, the things that you would have on your shirt, like too
the
close.
little charms. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The kind of
And you work. So for the watches, it's a little bit like this. Like people will say, "Oh, I want this and this and this and this color," and I say, like, we will work with two colors, three colors maximum. If the third one is smaller than, and then I'm making renderings and I'm showing them the rendering, and very, very quickly it works. So usually the place where you can add this spice of color would be the hands,
mm-hmm.
and you will play with the two main colors on the dies. But sometimes the association can be very classical, a dark blue and a gray, I don't know, a purple and a green,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they are an opposite on the chromatic circle. Some basic rules of coloring. Rose gold and black, for example, works very well. So and then you will, if you wish, like add a third color. It's like the metal case doesn't count of the color, like the natural metal of hands doesn't count of a color. But for example, like a red second hand, a dash of color, like one number that will be specifically popped with one color on the dial. So I will say, okay, if you've been using these two colors, the third one will be this. And I'm just showing this with Illustrator, Photoshop, like rendering stuff, and it's like, yeah, it works. But if one customer says, no, I want specifically this one color because this is meaningful for me, it always prime on everything else.
I respect and I love that. And it makes me happy to hear that anyone can come up to you and they can have a ton of specific requests with reasons as to why. And even then you're willing to, chime in and provide advice and input.
Yeah,
Or someone could just show up not knowing absolutely anything and not knowing what they want. And then they could just tell you the story. And together you can work with them to build something.
it has happened like a few times. It's more rare that a customer says, I don't know what I want. They always have a starting point, even if it's not tangible. Some will say, oh, I want, I don't know, green meteorite tile and I don't know, gray, dark gray, blah, blah, and it works. This is what I want. It's missing in my collection, and I want like the hands being polished or rose gold index, blah, blah, blah. Perfect. They have super clear image. Usually they will gather some other example. You see this example on this one, I like this one, this detail here I like, so I will combine the stuff and will validate that it works. Some customers came, it's more rare because it's more courageous to come and say, I would like a bespoke watch, but I believe I am not creative at all. I don't have taste. I'm having a blue suit because everybody is wearing a blue suit, so I believe blue suit is what I have to go by. That's fine. And so I will talk a little bit more with them. Where are you from? What are you patient? I did this for somebody who became a friend like recently. He didn't really know about the watches that he wanted, but he wanted like a specific watch that would evoke the mountains because he loved the mountains. And this guy had very striking blue eyes, gray blue eyes, like beautiful color of eyes. And so I used that. So I made the outside of the watch, the minute ring, with crystallized titanium that I turned ice blue. The same color of his eyes, basically, for what I understood. Actually, it was good, spot on. Like, and the middle of the watch was gray, dark gray, and just like a low engraving of mountains. So from the distance, it would look like dark gray, and ice blue on the outside, perfect fit. But when he's looking at his watch, he can see that it's the mountain from the place that he used to walk, blah blah. So that was an easy way to make something that is really fitting to this person and not too extravagant, because the guy is not. And he will wear the watch daily because it looks like a normal watch, but it has a lot of meaning into it. So.
That's beautiful. That's exactly what anyone in the market for something like this wants to hear, because it's always a little strange, sort of from the outside, like from my perspective, looking in as enthusiasts. We don't really all know the work and the prep and the logistical coordination and the component allocation pipelines and all that other fun stuff that goes into running, a watch brand, let alone what it is to have it be founded by a watchmaker, right? There's a lot of things, there's a lot of nuance, a lot of, let's call it baggage that kind of goes with it. But can you tell us a bit more about Sartory Billard and the operation as a whole? Like, where are you located? How many employees? Where is everything assembled? Because I know we talked earlier and I know where you are, but our viewers and our listeners don't know where you are. But basically, if no one's heard about Sartory Billard, what do they need to know?
So Sartory Billard is a French-based operation. You are in my workshop, my man's cave, and it's literally the cave of my house. So this is like 50 square meters, something like this here. I have the workshop, the bench, some tools here, the polishing machine, and here on the other side I have cutting tools, I have lathe, I have laser cutting machines, a couple of small lathes, and a vertical, I don't know the name in English, like so machines. So this is where I will make all the dies for the SB04E, now the new SB044E watches, I will assemble most of the watch here, and I also have an operation in Switzerland with actually many suppliers in Switzerland. Logistical point of view, so Sartory Billard, it's two person, myself and a colleague that is named Mao, that is working from abroad and helps me on the daily basis for everything. Like we talk every morning at locally 8:30 for me. We go in review what is for today for this week. So Mao doesn't have any assembly capabilities where he's working from, but he will help me in logistic, like contacting suppliers, organizing the next, I don't know, the shows, the trips, the everything. Like we split the work in two, and otherwise this is suppliers. So this is very, very small operation, super small.
Small, intimate, hands-on, very personal. That's again, once again, for me, hearing these things, that's exactly what I want to hear because my vision, my mental fantasy of what a watchmaker is, it's exactly that. It is one to two, maybe a team of 10, maybe max. But
Yes, this
but
is
it's
this is probably the amount of people that are working on a weekly basis on Sartory Billard watches. Yes.
I love
Like
it.
I do have my stone cutter operation, Gros Unrip. So this is their name. That is 1 hour driving from here. So this is a very large team, but I do have one person that is probably every week looking and checking and probably making the parts, the dials. At Comblemine, my main supplier, there is a bunch of people working, yeah, probably every week for Sartory Billard pieces. It will really depend on the rhythm and the type of watch that will be made. For example, I'm about to start a project with some Maki E dials, so that will be with an artist from Japan. So this guy will work probably several months for me, starting this spring. So but this is also very, very flexible because I think this is choice. If you're running an operation with 5, 10 people that are hired on site, they do have their knowledge. You can, of course, train them. But if you are stuck with these people to do something and you say, oh, tomorrow I would like to make a bunch of watches out of silicon wafers, maybe they just don't know how to operate this. So you will restrain yourself. But because I'm super based on suppliers, if I'm really want to do something specific and I don't have the capability here, I will find a guy who is able to make it. For example, like just before Christmas, I bought myself this. This
Oh, it's
is a
beautiful.
sphere of glass in which the artist has embed synthetic opal and is melting some glass in a way that it looks like a little universe. See,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you
It's
see
beautiful. Yeah.
more difference, but because it's black, so it looks very specific. The first thing that I did when I saw and bought myself this was to talk with the guy that lives in an island in West Brittany of France, like literally on an island out of the coast. Can you make me a big chunk of this with all the swirls and everything, and I'll have it cut and see if I can make a dial of it out of this.
I love it so much. I think, honestly, it's another testament to your open and what I consider to be um, democratic approach to watchmaking. Is the transparency and the willingness, to clearly tell people, even on the website, where all the components are manufactured and by who.
Yeah,
Um, you have a very honest and humble approach to watchmaking, I feel like. And I know when we first started talking, I asked you about a specific type of black light absorbing paint finish. And you mentioned this earlier as well, that you replied back with, I've never worked with this before, but I would be excited and happy to experiment and learn more about it. And honestly, that impressed me because you weren't afraid to say, I don't know what it is, but let's give it a try. And not many creatives, let alone not many watchmakers, are willing to do that. Why is it that you choose to take this approach? It's a bit experimental. It could be scary, right? The unknown can be scary. I'm curious.
I don't want to get bored into the daily job that I'm doing. The best way not to get bored is to accept any ID. Some IDs are very, very crazy. Some are much more reasonable. But as soon as a customer has an ID and express it, I'm very, very hooked on the project because I'm very curious on how I'm going to make it. I'm not making rockets, so it's never that complex. For example, like using like Mosu Black or Black 3.0 or this kind of 99.9 absorbing black colors, it has been made by a couple of watch brands. So I know it works. I just I have zero idea how you will apply this painting on the watch. I think if you apply this on a little mock-up and you leave it on your desk, the application can be a little bit random. You don't really care. On a watch that costs like probably 5,000 euro dollars, you have to be kind of careful and picky on how you will apply this. So the trick will be here, and the research will be here on to have something very, very clean. And probably I won't be able to, it's not probably, I won't be able to touch the die by any matter when I'm making the assembly. So if there is a dust here, I must find a way to remove the dust without touching the dial. Like I will probably suffer a little bit to make it. I will probably suffer if one day I have to make a maintenance on the watch. I will have to strip it down and be very careful. There can be some, difficulties there, but nothing that can be impossible. I'm not shipping a rocket on moon or whatever. That is kind of a work that I will try, fail, and try a little bit better, and fail less until the moment that it's okay. And the more I do, the more I do, the more I have a good feeling to say, this. I mean, I'm giving it like a 98% success probability. And if it's super low, then I will say, okay, I need to test a couple of things before, and I can give a feedback to you very quickly. But some I can really go straight for us and say, I mean, it must work. Like maybe there will be like 2 or 3 or 5 trials, but definitely it will work.
And I would imagine that you, having talked to you and having gotten to know you a little bit more, kind of maybe get a little bit excited and curious when a request that's wild comes in, because then you're like, I don't know, but in my trial and error, in my experimentation, I will learn. And then if a similar request comes down the line later, I can say, yeah. I mean, you always say yes, obviously, because that's who you are. You always say, yes, of course I can do it. But now you can actually have a bit more confidence in saying, yes, I can, because you've done it already.
Yeah, there are things that I'm dying to do, but I never had the request. One of the requests that I would love to do a watch with a cigar leaf dial.
Oh, interesting.
I'm cigar amateur. I know that the most of market for cigars is American market. It's a huge market for cigars. It's beautiful. It's brown. The color is absolutely unique. You can have the grain and the fiber of the leaves and everything. I can really imagine like cigar leaf dial and rose gold numerals and something like that. That would be absolutely stunning. I have no idea how to make this, but I will find a way. Butterfly wings, lullaby wings, this kind of things like to be embedded on dies. I know like a couple of Swiss brands have been making dies with butterfly wings applied on the dies, or feathers, like exotic feathers, because like the color scheme and gradient and stuff can be absolutely beautiful. Yeah, everything also that is related to space industry. I made one dial one day with a little bit of Apollo.
Was it the gold shielding?
Yeah, that
Armand,
was a little
listen,
bit.
when I tell you that I look at your website every week, listen, I'm not kidding.
That was a tiny bit, but I can't remember if it's Apollo. But that was one of the Apollo capsule that came back, and so that was bit of a foil stuff on the dial, and I know for a fact that you can buy parts from space exploration. You always have like parts coming back and not suitable for reused, and they're on the market. And I would love that one guy coming to me with like, this is titanium exhaust, whatever, like from the 70s, make a dial out of it. It went to Galaxy stuff.
Yeah,
and I would
so
be
cool.
like absolutely ecstatic to just like, okay, this is a part, how am I going to flatten it? And I already thought about this. So I know a few companies that would be happily taking this and putting it in a crazy press and cutting and having a dial out. So this is the kind of stuff that I'm very, very hooked on.
I love it. So I know obviously you've been working with a lot of enthusiasts from all over the globe, but what are some of the most interesting or unexpected learnings that you've gathered over the years? Like, has anyone ever asked for something absolutely crazy and impossible that maybe stands out to you? Maybe give us two examples if you can. Something that was so crazy and impossible, but you still tried it, and one that was very funny and very strange in the nicest way possible, that kind of stuck with you over the years.
One of them, one of the story that I found very adorable was recently last year. A customer that is in the tech industry came with a very specific silicon wafer from this industry and sent me the piece. Beautiful silicon wafer in the golden shades, and it stayed on my desk for, I don't know, 6 months. What can we do with this? I don't know. And do you have any idea? No, I don't know. But it stayed there, and out of the sudden, like very quickly, in like a matter of few weeks, it came, you're going to cut this, and I'm going to you're going to make dies, and so I can like offer them to the team that work on this specific project. And for me, you're going to make that, and for my daughter, you're going to make this, and blah blah. And so that went like we went on a crazy creative journey, very, very intense, over, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, super intense. And we made 14 or 15 watches out of this. And so the result is beautiful. The story is beautiful. Knowing the person that ordered the dial, his position in life, his schedule, the time he gave me was incredible. So that will stay in my head also. Like it involved other artists and technicality to make. That was really, really exciting. So this one I keep a very good memory, and it's recent. So if I dig into the past, I made one that was difficult or risky because I only had like a very small piece of wood from a violin that was restored. That was a very old piece of wood from a violin, and I had to make a dial with that. And I had like, the piece of wood that I have was big enough for 2 dials. So I really, so it worked, but it was like,
There's only so much material, yeah.
yeah, uh, a little bit like this. Something that I couldn't do. I refused to do one project at one time because I had cold feet with licensing and IP stuff. A customer wanted like a Star Wars theme watch, which I would have loved to make, but he wanted like all the symbols and the little stuff of Star Wars embedded into a dial, and I said like, maybe not.
You're treading kind of close to IP infringement, and you don't
Yeah,
want to
so I
receive
said
any
like,
letters.
so this one I remember the customer was from Netherlands, and I said no, I won't. I regret I won't be able to make this project because I don't know. I mean, I can't afford like this kind of
Yeah.
annoying situations. But otherwise, sometimes I refuse for pure technicality. A big amount of stones or diamonds on dials, stuff like this, because the watches are not technically suited to accept the thickness of a dial that would be paved with diamond or stones or whatever. Or if you want to do enamel grand feu on the SB04, the thickness of the dial available is not enough. So if I have request, I have to say no. It can't be done because I'm lacking the space, enough space to make this. or if customers are doing, oh, I want this, but I want that it looks exactly like this model from. This is maybe the most times that I say no.
Mm-hmm.
Customer comes with a model X from brand Z and say, make me a cheap copy of this. I said, yeah, no. It's not like, it's very different say, oh, I really love this model from the brand here that is middle range or super high. I like this detail. I would like to have this, but we'll keep your design language and but it's different. Like, oh, can you make this? And I want the same hands than this brand. And I clearly very very quickly sense that behind this talk of the customer, this is I can't afford to have this brand. So you're going to make me the cheap version, and that will be good enough to see from the distance. I said, like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, the designer creator integrity is sort of
A
shattered in
little bit,
that moment,
yeah. I
right?
respect too much. I respect too much the other brands' work to say. So one of the things that actually I'm really strict on this is the design of my hands. So for example, if I have the specific designs for the SB04, 4E, F4S, blah blah, the 5, and you can't switch for Breguet hands, because if you have a guilloche with Breguet hands or Dauphine hands or Leafs hands, you can clearly confuse for another brand specific, or Journe hands. I had like people saying, "Oh, I want like your blue titanium dial polished and blah blah, and I want the Journe hands." I said, "No."
In a very polite way, you say, "I see what you're trying to do."
No, it's fine actually. I can respect, because it's like I'm not the good brand to do it.
Hmm.
For example, one of my favorite cars ever is the AC Cobra, the
Oh,
467.
yeah,
I mean the
yeah.
design. I mean, you can't buy any Shelby Cobras anymore. They're gone. Like the museums are pile of scrap with one body inside, probably,
Mhm.
because they were like widowmakers.
This is true.
Um, yeah, that's true, like 100%. So today, if you want to have to buy one, you get to manufacturers that are making the same, and you can have like a V8 or even a V4 four-cylinder block inside. If you just want to, but that's fine, because it's a business around this. That's something that don't exist anymore. It's not produced anymore.
Mhm.
But coming to say I want exactly like the copy from this watch that is today in production, it's not possible. If I would listen more still, but you would need to have my own hands and my own design language and case and whatever. If you come with, oh, this is this dial from this brand that disappeared like in the 70s, inspired me so much because of the construction and the proportion and the graphic of the dial. Can you make something that evokes this? I say, yeah, I can. It definitely will work, because we will do a modern interpretation. That's something that is that has disappeared, that is not available anymore.
So there's a difference between interpretation, inspired by, and creative execution versus copy.
Yeah,
And it sounds like a lot of people just sometimes, not a lot, some people come and say, please copy this.
it's hopefully for me, for my delicacy to say no to the customer,
Mhm.
super rare. It's probably one or two asks per year, so it's like super rare, but it happens.
No, I appreciate that. And I think uh, proper enthusiasts and people that understand where you're coming from and have ever done anything in a creative capacity to publish something out there respect and appreciate work not being copied.
Yeah, of
You know,
course. Like I saw, like just like a little bit earlier today, I was browsing Instagram and I saw like an advertisement, and I see, so that was in French, though, so French watchmaker, and you see the guy on the bench, the watch is flipped down, so he's assembling the movement. He say, "Oh, I'm living my dream. I'm 24 years old and I'm making watches." I was like, "Oh, super cool." I mean, the video is really nice, blah blah.
Mhm.
And the video is over, and the guy flips back the watch, and it's a blatant copy from Cartier, like one model. I said, like, ooh, don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't.
It's
I mean, he bought like I think maybe he will do something nice with the dial was different and everything, but like everything was like no, don't do that, because like, yeah, I think he found like on any given website, like the case and everything that was from this specific model. Very attractive, the model, very known, like the design is perfect. That's like saying like, oh, you're playing with fire.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. And again, people that understand, respect, and appreciate your stance, and completely, I believe, support your very nice, polite way of saying
Yeah, of course,
no.
I never had problems.
So
And
I wanted to congratulate you a bit on the launch of the SB04E because, as I said many times already, I'm a big fan. So I saw the launch a couple weeks ago. I had messaged you because I saw the release of the final edition,
yes,
and I promise you, my heart stopped for a couple seconds. It's like, wait, does that mean that the SB04 line will be discontinued completely? And like, I haven't gotten mine yet. So I was so happy to hear that. No, there will be an
well,
evolution. There'll be a follow up to it.
they were
So
tricky. Yeah.
the Tantalum, obviously, and the Ruby Platinum are the two that came out
Yes.
first for the E. I'm curious, and we talked a little bit about the complications and the difficulty of working with Tantalum on the Tantalum dial. But what was it like working towards this release? I'm sure 2024 was busy with this. We're in 2025 now. What was it like working towards this release, and what were some interesting challenges that you had to sort of solve or work through? Because I'm sure not everything went perfectly.
No, of course, not everything went perfectly, to say the least. I had to make like 2 or 3 prototypes to have it good on the side, the technical parts, and the fact is that it's also the first watch that is, of course, it's open for bespoke. I still have to put the website up to date, but it's also the first watch that has 2 models that are offered as so to buy. So for me, this is a very important step because after 10 years, I can work with retailers.
Hmm.
I've been asked to work, I mean, retailers have been asking to work with me for, I don't know, 2, 3 solid years. But every time that was the same answer. I'm doing only bespoke. If you want to make a design for your shop, we can work on something. And it was a failure all the time. The retailer wouldn't go on because it's absolutely not in their DNA to invent something that is for the shop, that to be creative. I don't know why
Hmm.
it's not in their DNA. So after talking with them, they were saying like, out of the SB04, this should be improved, this should be improved, this blah blah blah. So that was all the point, like mainly technicality. A little bit of a smaller diameter, a little bit thinner, better water resistance, and something that the case is a little bit less craft made, but a little bit more industrial process for, I don't know, supply, after sales service, parts that I would ship to them, serial numbers, these kind of logistical things.
Hmm.
And so I created the 2 watches as 2 watches to be ready to sell. And for me, that was an immense design challenge because that was the first time that I'm creating a model that has to suit me and the customers, being niche enough to be a Sartory Billard, and reassuring design enough to address a little bit more of people. So that was like a tripod of wishes that is a little bit complex to obtain, and I couldn't solve it in only one piece, so I solved it in 2 pieces. The first one is with the tantalum dial, so a very strong concept on the metal, on the material, a strong concept on the fact that I will work myself on the dial to texture it. A very nice look overall with a monochromatic watch, but the dial has a little bit of a slate hue because of the tantalum parts. The fact that the hands, and there is no numbers on the dials, but there is indices like baton and diamond cut indices. So that was a little bit of an evolution on the design language. This is something that I wanted to go also for a while. And the second watch has a ruby dial, which is a stone that is almost never seen in the watchmaking. The one I can think of is some jaune that are in the 6 to, I don't know how many digits to get one if they're making a handful per year. Hopefully, the relation that I have with my stonecutter would say that I could buy a boulder and say you can get 150 pieces approximately out of this stone. So I cap this production to 150. So they will all come from the same boulder. Um, and yeah, that was a very big challenge for me to design this watch. Actually, these are two watches. Sales are good. I'm very happy about this. Um, a lot of people got the understood the interest of the Ruby one because of the very niche and very specific aspect on the dial cut. And it's also very nice because it's surrounded with a disc that is platinum coated with some fume and sunray, a lot of work on the dial, but it looks really, really, really good. And now also what is very interesting is that many customers understood very, very quickly the potential of bespoke on the watch, and without saying anything already making, I don't know, in 1 week I had probably a solid handful of custom orders for the SB04E, opal dial, meteorite. This is solid start. I'm very happy about the watch. This is the one I have today. So this is mine beloved Aventurine.
I was going to ask you, what are you wearing today? Beautiful. That's an aventurine dial.
Yeah, that is Aventurine dial. I very, very much Aventurine dial because it's calm enough for me to wear. I prefer to have a calmer design on my wrist because I'm making so many watches with crazy dials, so I'm always a little bit conservative. But I really love Aventurine because you have, like, from the distance, this is blue, and when I'm looking at the dial, it's never the same because you always have sparkles and playing this. This for me. This is like a new dial every second that I'm watching it. So I'm absolutely in love with Aventurine stone.
No,
Nothing really special actually.
it you may say that, but it is like magic. It's like magic in that
Forensic stuff.
it's
It's
alluring and very, very, very pleasing to the eye. Well, that was gonna lead me to the next question that I have is like any new models or materials or designs or even
Yep.
collaborations that you can share with us that you're currently working on.
I'm working on a collaboration. It's more a design with four hands, I would say. Something that will be presented during Watches and Wonders, so first week of April in Geneva. I'm working also on all the watches that I will present through the retailers with the different stone. So the Chrysocolla will be the one. I don't know when actually. I few months. I can't say the schedule today. And I always have like a crazy amount of ideas. I just need to, if it just if it were only me, like I would come with one new design every week. But I think that wouldn't be a very smart business move. But honestly, yeah, I could, like, I mean, just take this silicon wafer and
Yeah.
put this in the middle of a watch. Like, this is like crazy.
So I will say with the first time I saw the silicon wafer SB04 on the site, I my knees got soft because I knew how difficult it was to work with silicon wafer because it does not want to be cut
Not
in
really.
any like it wants to be cut in straight lines. It does not like circular
Yeah,
patterns.
no.
And when I saw that, I my jaw just hit the floor. So I'm again, I'm
Yeah,
impressed.
there is very, very few brands to work with this. It's always funny how small Sartory Billard is. So if I'm giving back uh, the crown to who it belongs, I think Hermes, if I'm not mistaken, did a silicon wafer dial maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, but
Wow.
not in the way that I'm using it today. They had like a motif painted on this or something, but that was like super niche and unnoticeable watch in the industry.
Not a brand that I would expect to have.
No, if I'm not mistaken, this is my. So that was like the ladies' watch, but they used it like pretty much as a basic basis mirror sort of things, and the painting and something
Mm-hmm.
like this. And then Sartory Billard. So I did some SB04, SB05. I'm working on other models with that, and they were like quite popular and recognized amongst the watch nerdy.
Oh yeah. Oh, you triggered me instantly. I mean, I saw that, and again, like I'm
That
telling you,
was really funny. And I saw after this is where the power of the big brands and the marketing comes over and rolls over you. 2 years ago or 1 year, no, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, there were like a major auction somewhere, and a brand came up with a watch with a silicon wafer, and that was the first watch made out of silicon wafer. And I was like,
actually,
but this brand, like,
yeah.
and I said, like, guys, fair enough. Maybe they honestly, maybe we are Sartory Billard is so small. Maybe they just don't know us, and I wouldn't even blame them. I mean,
Stop.
like, it's no,
No,
it's
no.
nobody knows us. Like, this is for a fact. Nobody knows us. Like, the day the SB04E was announced, um, Andrew Morgan, that made the pictures of the watches for us, was at an event, and release of another, and he had the watches with on his wrist, so he was saying, "Oh, it's coming out today." It's like Sartory what,
Mm.
and so it's really incredible of like how unknown Sartory Billard is.
Well,
Um, so that's
you have a disciple in me. You have a you have a disciple in me. Okay, so I will preach and I will continue to preach the Sartori Billard
shout in the
ethos.
desert.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. And I'm glad that Andrew has handled your watches. I know you guys have also worked together.
Yeah.
He was here a while ago. We got to hang out, and I showed him Seattle because I'm based out of Seattle, and we have a relationship, and he's a hilarious guy. He is
Yes.
so funny. But
British humor is like the
yeah,
best you can have.
yeah. Well,
Like,
it's a
you
little
should
dark.
see the group, the WhatsApp group we have sometimes. Like, oh god.
I love it. I love to hear it. Let me ask you another question because I know that so as a watchmaker, right? You create, you obviously test, you improve your work year over year
Yeah.
and your craft as well, right? Like you learn, you improve, you apply. Okay. But you're also a watch collector.
Yes. On very, very small scale, but yes.
But you are. Yeah. So I'm wondering
Yeah.
as a collector, when you go out looking for your next watch, what is it that is important to you specifically? Like what do you look for? Is it
It's very.
design? Is it quality, precision? What does
I
Armand value and appreciate?
okay. I steal from Barry, one of my customers on the east coast of America, that I
Mm,
really appreciate. Barry, we have talks beyond watchmaking, and his collection is a little bit eclectic, like bit of that and that and that.
hmm
Some couple of favorite brands, but the collection is a little bit eclectic. And at the beginning of the relation, I needed to um, understand like the his concept of watch collecting. I said, like, Barry, what are you collecting? And he say, oh, I'm not collecting watches. It's like, what? That's, I'm collecting watchmakers. I said,
Whoa.
ooh,
Whoa.
that's nice. And I do exactly the same. So I'm only buying watches from the people that I know that will make them, if they are in my budget. So the design will be, and the design, the style, and thing will be very secondary. I will buy watches that I find I have a strong connection with the watchmaker that will make it. Yeah, I do have like a handful of watchmakers that I would like to treat myself with some of their watches. Um, some that are out of my financial reach. Some they have a very long waiting list, which is very good for them. But even if I don't buy them, I see the watches like the really ones that I would like to own one day.
Mm,
So I'm there are very, very few watches from the standard industry that do excite me. Um, some I will look and say, oh, that's oh, well done. That is nice, nice job, etc. But very rarely to a point that I need to have this. Like my Grail watch,
mm.
It's the Deep Space Tourbillon by Vianney Alter. Why? Because the guy is crazy, and I say this with a lot of love. Um, he's from. We are born and raised in the two cities that touch each other on the west side of Paris by pure hazard, I would say. Vianney is probably 10 years older than me. And one of the first years that I really got into watchmaking, and I think that was 10 years ago, 2015, I think. There was this show in Paris at the time, just under the Louvre. You have some exhibits area, which is named the Carrousel du Louvre. And they were like, at this time in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, a watch exhibition. I go there. This is my first year into the business. I would say I know nothing, and most of it I know no one. I go there and I see like the display. I mean, this watch that is an ovni, this big bubble and the flying tourbillon in the middle. I don't know what is a tourbillon. I don't know anything, but just the way the watch is absolutely captivating. Look at the watch, and there is somebody standing close to me, and we talk about the watch. I say, "Oh, why?" And the guy is talking a little bit. I say, "Oh, this is a crazy watch. I mean, and do you know who makes this?" And the guy look at me like hilarious. It's me. And so I was talking for, I don't know, 20 minutes with Vianney Alter, and it's somebody that I really like in the industry. We are not friends. We don't see often. We see probably twice a year, but I respect immensely his lovely craziness, his immense skill to make something, to make watches, and I found this watch absolutely mesmerizing. Super big to wear. I mean, super, like it's out of the world in terms of watches. Doesn't care, but for me, it more than the watch. It's related to the when in my life, how I discovered this watch, who I discovered making this watch, and everything's like makes that it's your first kiss.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
mystique, that allure. Yes, yes.
yeah, you met like different things, partners, and then you marry, blah blah. But like you say, there were a moment that is like an awakening, and this is like everything is crystallized into this watch, uh, and the fact also that is absolutely untouchable in terms of budget, because it's probably around $250,000 today, makes it my gray watch. I know that I will not like get to this probably,
Uh,
so it's
Never
good
say
because
never.
yeah, never say never. But if you put like the gray watch to a level that you can like easily acquire,
Hmm.
um, I'm afraid that you're pushing like I'm
The
I'm putting
boundaries.
this on the Mount Everest of watchmaking.
I understand, but listen, we can't help and we can't stop what imprints itself onto our hearts.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like magic. It's like love. It just happens and you cannot control it. So I am a firm believer. I'm a forever optimist. I go in blind optimism, just like you when it comes to these things. And I will never say never. I trust that you won't do it either. I believe that one day you will have it, and I hope that you do. But thank you for
I'm
sharing.
I'm
That's
I like every year as a joke, not maybe not every year, but every single, I don't know, when I see Vienna, I say like, are you sure you didn't find one in a drawer that
somewhere in a closet somewhere.
is that,
I You're like I can give it a nice home in my home if you want. You know, if you don't have any space, just I'll help you. Just tell them that. So speaking of that, because we're approaching towards the tail end, do you have any advice for anyone that might be watching or listening and maybe they're curious about how to actually go about the whole process of approaching a project with you? You know, what would that even look like? What should our viewers or listeners know before they contact you in regards to their custom piece?
So I think One of the things that I would recommend is to look at the website, because I did a lot of work on the website to present the models and what can be changed, and also it says, okay, this is in the realm of possibles and this is not, and also associated with budget, so it will quickly help you deciding, oh yes, I would love to put this amount of money, and okay, these are the limits, and if I have this amount of money, the limits are different. And then like write to me by Instagram or via the website and say, hey, I would like to see how like a pink meteorite goes with this, I don't know, coral piece of stone in the middle, and just like I want to, and the rendering will take me, because everything is processed now for a decade, like with softwares that are 3D modeling softwares and everything. This is back from my previous job, so I'm very used to these softwares. I make a rendering. The rendering, of course, like cost nothing. This is just in the talk, and you see. And if it suits you, then we can start off the project. And if it's not suiting you, this is absolutely fine. And it's like entering in a shop. It just like push the door, have a look. Let's talk with the guy in the middle, which is me. Don't be surprised if I'm making a few mistakes in my English. I'm doing as good as I can, and I'm sending you drawings, and yeah, we just talk about your project. That's all.
Beautiful, 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 perfect. Thank you. So honestly, Armand, I could talk to you forever. It's been truly my absolute pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you very much. It's me too.
You're a very
Amazing.
busy man. Thank
A
you.
lot of fun.
Good, good. You're just a joy to spend time with, because I respect and I appreciate so much of what you do. Thank you for making the time. I appreciate it. Before we wrap up, though, I have I have three quick questions for you.
Please.
Number one, will you help me build my dream Sartory Billard watch?
Yes, absolutely, I will.
Thank you. Number two, do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners?
Closing talks. As we had this little bit of conversation, James, before we started to record. Whatever you want to do, just make the first step, because I think it's simple as that. Like, better say, oh, I tried, didn't work, than say, oh, I should have tried. Of course, you have to weigh like the pros, the cons, the consequences on your life balance, your family, your marriage, or whatever. But like, sometimes it's just like more work that you will do after your daily work just to try something. I had like numerous people writing me on Instagram saying, "Oh, I would like to do watches. I would like to build something." I said, "Like, do you have a job?" "Yeah, I'm working this or whatever." And then like go to bed a little bit later and work 2 hours every day on this. Buy this book. Try. If you see that the virus is getting there, then you I mean, just try. And if you see it doesn't work, like it's like trying to build, this beautiful boat mock-up. You have to start somewhere. Either you make it, or you just like make like a quarter, and it says, just try.
But to forever wonder what could have been if only you had tried, that is a pain and a burden that I don't think is a nice thing to live with. So just try, huh?
No. I said just try it.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. And the last question, Watches and Wonders.
Yes.
It's coming, and it sounds like you're going.
Yes, I'm going. So this is 1st of April to the 7th. But I think we're wrapping up on the Saturday, so I don't know which day. So this is the first week of April, basically. Beau Rivage Hotel in Geneva. We have a very large room on the ground floor that we are sharing with 8 brands, and that will be a ton of fun. I think, there is novelties, and this is laid back. This is also a good moment for us. Like, we're working all very hard, and it's a good moment to meet all the guys from the industry, the collectors, the retailers, and at the end of every day have a dinner. And it's a bit of holidays and work at the same time. It's very enjoyable for most of the people. Yes.
Wonderful. I wish I could say that I'll see you there, but unfortunately, I have yet to attend a larger watch event. But Again, the forever optimist, I will say, who knows what the future holds? Maybe, perhaps we'll see. But I like the fact that you're approaching it as a business and pleasure. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
you get to meet
yeah,
a bunch
you
of
have
people.
to. We're working. Most of the watchmakers that I know don't count the hours. We request our families and our personal bodies also a lot of sacrifice and immense hour on the bench. You when you go to a small watchmakers place, you find them. I mean, look on Instagram on the weekend. I saw this weekend maybe 3 or 4 publication from watchmakers working on the weekend.
Mm.
So we don't count the hours. So when it's about like the 2 or 3 times during the year that we can meet somewhere, it's very important for us.
I love it. No, I love it. The community, the community is key. It's not just the watch collectors, but also the watchmakers. So I love to hear that camaraderie.
Yes, we are. It's funny to say, but I really insist on this. Like among all the small watchmakers, we are not competitors. Um, I think the competition between Rolex and Omega, for example, is absolutely furious because you will sell one watch to one guy for his 50th birthday, and if he buys a Rolex, he won't buy an Omega, and vice versa. In the realm of the independent, like many of my customers will say, "Oh, I bought a Sartory Billard. What should I buy next? Did you know this guy from Brazil? Did you know this guy from Netherlands? Did you guy this go from Spain? Have a look. He's doing a great job." And other people will say, "Oh, you've been recommended by Miguel. You've been recommended by this Pietro." So
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that's a wonderful sentiment to kind of end on because it's been an absolute joy and pleasure to speak with you. Armand, correct me if I'm wrong, but the best way to contact you is Instagram on Sartori Billard on
yeah,
Instagram and the
very
website,
good.
yes?
Yes, the two best things, two best ways.
Perfection. Perfection. Armand,
Thank you very much, James.
thank you. You are a gentleman. Did you have fun?
Yes, a lot. That was
Good.
very funny. No, that
Good.
was a very good way to spend this evening. I really loved it. Thank you very
It
much.
brings me joy. It is my absolute pleasure. I hope that you come back sometime in the near future for another interview because I absolutely loved our chat and I enjoyed learning a bit more about you and all the work that you do with Sartori Billard.
Thank you very much, James.
Merci beaucoup.
Oh, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. A good afternoon to you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Bye bye.
That concludes this episode of the Timist Podcast Series. A sincere thank you for hanging out with us. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, then please push all the buttons that will help you hear more of us in the future. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can either drop a comment on the associated YouTube video or reach out to me on Instagram at TheTimistIG. Thanks for listening. I'm The Timist. Be well, and I'll catch you in the next one.